All right, well, I am going to get started. So today is March 4th, 2026, and this is the Building Hour episode 1. And today we're going to be talking about squares and triangles. And what do I mean by talking about squares and triangles? We're playing Rust, right? Well, the foundations in Rust, so like the things you build everything on, both literally and figuratively, the foundations are made of squares and triangles. And these depending on the most people don't think about it in terms of like, oh, I'm going to build a base out of squares or I'm going to build a base out of triangles. But when you start breaking it down, these have really different fundamental properties into how they affect your base. And there's a reason that a lot of solo bases end up being mostly triangles, or a lot of triangle predominant footprints are correlated with solo bases, whereas a lot of bigger bases like to make a lot of their um, uh, foundations within their base squares. And so I kind of want to break down why and how we can kind of keep this in the back of our minds when we design bases so that we know, which spaces would be better as loot rooms, which parts would be better as door paths, since your footprint might be fixed for a build. Like, you might not have any option. Say you've committed to like a ninja star or a 2x1 or whatever. You might not be able to change what footprint you went with, but you will be able to decide where you put stuff within your base or how you lay your base out. And once we kind of understand what squares and triangles are better at when we break it down, then you'll be able to just design more efficient bases. And I think utilizing squares and triangles effectively is how I was able to get the Gram, which is the base I just released yesterday, to be so efficient. And so if you haven't seen the base, go check that out. I know Wipe Dessert, he's seen it plenty. So, but yeah, so let me pull up the MS Paint so that I can get us started off talking about squares and triangles. Just gotta get my scene switched over. I should get some like fun transitions. Okay, so what do I mean? Let me get my pen and get this up a little bit. Okay, so Rust, we have triangles and we have squares, right? These sides are the exact same length, and so when you build them, they kind of just match up. I could use one of these and make it pretty, but I'm gonna stick with the pen. So, just in case anyone watching doesn't know, a triangle costs about 150 stone to upgrade, and a square foundation costs 300. And so roughly 2 triangles is equal to 1 square in terms of cost. But as you can see, the triangle is very different from the square. Even though the like edges are the same size, the area within it is very different. And how do we know what the area is? Well, if you want to calculate the area of an equilateral triangle, which means all 3 sides are the same or have the same length, you use this equation right here. Square root of 3 over 4a squared. Now let's just say a equals 1 to make everything simple. Since the square and the triangle, they're the same. If I just use 1 for both, then it's easy. Well, then this would be equal to 0.43. Getting the hang of paint drawing. And then if I had 2 of them, because the cost of a triangle is half of a stone, then the area would be 0.86. Let me make that better. 0.86, which is less than. So if I go back to the square, it's just length times width, or if it's the same, it's just a squared, since both of these are a or 1, and then this would just be 1. And so the square is like 15% bigger than the triangle. And why does this matter? Well, that means, one, if you're building a base and you're trying to fit the most amount of stuff within it, well, then any spots where you have squares, you're just going to be able to fit more stuff. I don't need to draw anything there. So yeah, you're going to be able to fit more stuff in a base with squares. And you're not going to be able to fit as much stuff in a base with triangles. But okay, so big picture, whatever. You can fit stuff in squares and triangles. Obviously, we're not going to just build bases entirely out of squares. Otherwise, everything would just be like 2x2s, 3x3s, 4x4s. We know that those bases aren't that good, at least on their own. So why aren't they fantastic? Well, if I come down here, the first thing I want to look at is the amount of like the door path, or how triangles and squares will affect door paths. So obviously, a triangle. Actually, one way that's really helpful to look at it is, sorry, let me draw a better triangle. Okay, I've got a triangle. Well, since this is only 150 and like the square is 300, and over here I compared 2 triangles versus 1 square, I'm just going to draw a second triangle. Well, this looks a whole lot like a square if we just shift this top over. And so this is the unit that I like to look at when I'm comparing squares to triangles. And what you'll find is interesting when we're using triangles instead of squares is we've added, let me use a different color. We've added an extra line or an extra wall. And so what does that mean? Gotta find the right color. Okay, so we have an extra wall here. Hey, the darkness shell. Sorry if this is a little too mathy for you, but this is what this channel is all about, getting better at building. So yeah, we've added this diagonal. And what this means is we can basically have a door. It's almost like we have this square, and we put a door right in the middle of it, which we can't do. And so, oh man. Oh, okay. I thought I deleted or cleared my page, and I was like pretty sad about that. But yeah, so it's like we can get a door just in it. And so if we look at something like a 2x2, if we come here, this is our normal 2x2, we can only get 1, 2, 3, and I get, like, you could put a 4th door, but this is usually like a wall. And so your max door path would be 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to TC. Like, that is the best we can do in a 2x2 made of squares. But if we made a 2x2 out of triangles, I probably did not choose the easiest way to draw this. I'm gonna draw it like this. 1, 2. Okay. Yep. You guys try to draw triangles that are equilateral while talking in paint. I could probably just use the stuff up here. But what you'll see now is the maximum door path we can get is 1, 2, 3. This doesn't really contribute, but then 4, 5, 6, 7. You could get a door path of 7 in a footprint that costs the exact same as this one. The only difference is you would have to pay for more doors, but where am I going with this? Oh yeah, so for the exact same cost in stone and external walls, because here we still, like, externally we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 walls on the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 8 walls on the exterior. So if you're going to metal straight away, it's the same amount of things that you have to metal. But then with doing it slanted like this, we actually almost double. We go from 4 to 7 in door path. And what's really cool about that is if you put your TC right here, if your TC goes right there, you could make a 2x2, a 7 rocket raid through doors without any BPs. And I think that's pretty cool because in general, when people see a structure like a 2x2, they think the best you can get out of it is a 4-door path, or like if you add that airlock at the front, you could make it 5. Because most people on their 2x2s add that, so you can have it be 5. But yeah, so like this is objectively a cheaper way to do it, and I want to start looking into it, or I want to hop into Rust in a moment and look at this with like deployables and see how much we can fit into this shifted 2x2 compared to a regular 2x2. And so we're going to be playing around with deployables for a little bit. But before I do that, I want to talk about 2 more things. The next thing I want to talk about is packing factor, or this idea of packing factor. So in material science, there's this concept of packing factor. Let me just like clear this up. I guess I can't clear all the way. That's okay. So in materials, I guess big picture, because I should have studied up on my materials, but the idea of a packing factor is how efficiently in space do things fit within the space. And so like, say you have, this is one of my favorite examples, a bunch of cannonballs. What is the most efficient way to arrange those cannonballs to take up the least amount of space possible, or like to create the most dense thing? And so if you have circles, you could think to put them, I'm actually going to copy and paste. Oh, how do you do that? Whatever. I'm just going to draw it. Let's say I have a bunch of circles. If I arrange them like this, there's a lot of dead space right here, if you notice. There's a lot of inefficiency, even though it's ordered. And so what you can do instead of packing them like that is, you could also do this with oranges, is you can get it something like that, and that's a bit more efficient. And there's a bunch of different ways. Wipe Deserg said you could just melt them. Master in logistics, by the way. Yeah, so there's different ways you can pack. And why am I going on this tangent? The reason I'm going on this tangent is wherever you have an inefficiency or a gap that is not the right shape to be filled, where you have shapes that are incompatible with each other, that's where you're going to incorporate an inefficiency. And the reason why we don't just make every base out of entirely triangles is because of this. And so most of our bases, or looking at a square, right? Like say our base is a nice little square. This is our, I'll use the actual square. Okay, this is our foundation. And we want boxes, right? And so you can fit, let's see if I can get the aspect right, but like you can fit boxes like this into a square, and it's pretty efficient. It actually, if you go like this, and then I'll switch to another color, you can actually fit 3 large and 3 small boxes perfectly into a square foundation. This used to be what you had to do in all building, and then ever since like the barrels came out, we've gotten to be lazy with how we make our loot rooms, but you used to have to do this all the time. Oh, Okay. Is that any better? I mean, you really don't need to see anything at the top, but... Okay. Yeah. So we used to have to do this all the time with our bases, but if we look at a triangle loot room, can I crop? No. If we look at a... I'll just draw it like this. Okay, so we have a triangle loot room. If we try to put the same boxes in here, well, if we just put them vertically like we did over here, that doesn't really work at all. We've got all of this space lost. And that's because the long axis of this is kind of not going where... Sorry, we don't have it... The long axis is aligned with each other, so what we can do instead is, as most people know to do in these triangle loot rooms, you can place your box like this, and that's a lot more efficient because now your gap is just this right here. It's a more efficient way to pack this thing into the space because the gap on this side is giant and the gap on this side is small. And so we know to do this intuitively, but this applies to more than just boxes. And if you really look at it, almost every single deployable in Rust is a rectangle or a square. So like your loot boxes are a rectangle. Workbenches are like a thinner rectangle. I guess furnaces are a circle. So like furnaces are fine. They kind of fit equally in a triangle or a square. So that's why whenever you have a single triangle, it's fantastic to put 3 furnaces in it because they fill the space really well, or at least just as well as if they were in a square. Yeah, so like boxes, barrels are slightly better. We can get 6 barrels into a triangle if you kind of arrange them like this. You can access all 3 barrels, but that's only good for people who have the barrel DLC. And so one of the big disadvantages of triangles is not only is their area smaller, they're 15% smaller in total. Like the area of this thing is 15% less than that. But you're going to be having inefficiencies with your deployables when you put them in. You're going to have inefficiency. And so there's 2 compounding factors contributing to why triangles are just, not... We don't build our bases entirely out of triangles. And so the one last thing I want to look at, and I might actually hop into Rust for this, is the honeycombing efficiency of triangles. Let me just change my scene over to Rust. Okay. The honeycombing efficiency. And so this isn't quite as straightforward because it's not like there's hard rules. And so, say I've got a square, I can honeycomb with just triangles, or I could honeycomb with squares. Obviously, one of them looks really silly, and we would never do it. But like this would require 8 walls to honeycomb that, whereas this would require 12 because you've got 1 extra per. And so that would be a silly way to honeycomb. And on top of it, you know, you wouldn't be able to use triangle there. You'd have to go with a square. But I don't want to get into optimal patterning. I feel like that's something I need to research all on its own. Like, what footprints are more amenable to triangle honeycombing? But that'll be a lot of research into finding kind of like where the patterns come out. We know them intuitively, but to be able to talk about them big picture and then like dive into them, not quite there yet. And so, yeah, this is 30% more inefficient because it's 50% more walls. Sorry, 50% more inefficient because it's 50% more walls, 12 versus 8. But then I want to go back to the 2x2. Actually, I want to look at one side. I don't want to go all the way around. If I were to honeycomb one layer with squares, it would require 5 walls. Whereas with triangles, it would require only 4 walls. And so the difference isn't so big. But if I continue this pattern, if I want to fill in and get a second layer of honeycombing, that only cost me 5 more walls. So to get a second layer, it only cost me 1 additional wall. Whereas if I want to do the same, I need to move over. I did not give myself enough space. If I want to do the same with the squares, I have to come out to the sides like this, and oh my god, this is already getting massive. And so I've got those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 already, and then I've got to put 3, and I've got to put 5 more, and then 3 more, and so I'm at 11 to do the exact same amount of protection. And so, like, we know this intuitively, but squares are just not good as honeycomb. The only exception is sometimes when you're trying to link together 2 triangles, and so a lot of 2x1 designs and 1x1 designs utilize this feature in their honeycombing, is when you have 2 triangles that create a square gap, adding this square as honeycomb only requires 2 wall. And whenever that's the case, you actually do want the square as your honeycomb. That is a good thing. But, you know, intuitively, so squares, bad at honeycombing. Triangles, fantastic at honeycombing. Squares have a great packing factor, as in you can get just more stuff in for the amount of cost you're spending. And then triangles, if you make the same base that you would have made out of squares, if you make it with triangles, you can cram extra doors in. And this is all for the same cost. And so something I want to look at now is I would like to make a slanted 2x2. I actually haven't seen one of these before. It's not so different from a hexagon tower circle base, but I've never seen someone use a slanted 2x2 as their starter before, which feels weird. Like, I feel like every single starter has been used, but I don't think this one has ever been, at least I haven't seen anyone use one, and I've never used one personally, and I kind of just want to explore and see how much stuff I can cram into it. Take a sip of my Wegmans water. Okay, so for a normal 2x2, you know, this is kind of what you would go with. You could have like door, close that off, door. We could put, you know what? Yeah, I'll put this because almost everyone puts that. And so we've got our normal starter. I don't remember the cost of a 2x2 off the top of my head, but it's an amount. The cool thing is with our slanted 2x2, it'll cost the exact same except for the triangles, and so that's pretty neat. Let me get these doors in. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doors. Great. Standard 2x2. If this was upgraded to metal, it would be a 5 rocket raid because raiders could go through the door path. Now, for our slanted 2x2. Ooh, the server is nice and laggy right now. I bet someone's loading in like a 600 entity base. That reminds me, some guy in the server was like, hey, you want to check out my base? And I was like, oh, okay. Expecting, like, I don't know, maybe group base, maybe like a solo duo base. Most people are like, oh, can you check out my solo duo base, please? Anyone rate? Rate, please? And, you know, I do it sometimes because I want people to check my bases out. And so I'm like, okay, if I'm going to ask people to check mine out, I'll go check theirs out. And so I load into... I load into this guy's or like I teleport to him, and my Rust crashes. I'm like, what just happened? And so I load back in, and I go back to his place, and I crash again. And I'm like, what's going on? Why does my Rust keep crashing? And so I load up, and before I go over, I drop my graphics settings as low as I can, because I'm like, maybe he's doing something weird. Maybe he's got like some skins. I don't know. And so I go, and there is the biggest green penis base I have ever seen. Like, I think this dude had thousands of entities. Like, I have never seen a base so massive. There were more of the, like, door frames. Like these door frames, there were more of that than I build in 5 bases combined. Like, this thing was the craziest thing I have ever seen. I feel like a 50-player group wouldn't even fill out this entire base. And the base's name was something along the lines of, like, Hulk's... I don't actually think I can finish the rest of that sentence on straight. But you get the idea. I don't actually know the rules with what I can and cannot say. But I will err on the side of caution, if you will. Anyhow, that's all to say... I forgot where I was going. Oh! The server's probably laggy because I bet that guy just logged on and loaded in his base. And some guys think it's really funny. This used to be an issue a few years ago where people would just spam load over and over because it was funny to watch everyone else in chat complain about the lag. Okay, so we've got our slanted 2x2. I'm going to lay it out just like a normal 2x2. With our triangle airlock, doors that wrap around. Here, I personally would consider making it a bunker or something like that, but I'll just leave it as a door. This would be a neat spot for, like, furnaces or, like, a windowed loot room or something like that. And my goal right now, what I want to do, is I want to see how much stuff can I fit into this footprint. Because this footprint is objectively a harder raid. Like, you can't get door path in this space like you would a normal 2x2 for that to be, like, the cheap way. And so there's no bunkers in this base. I guess... you could even do it weird where you put the TC back here, vending machine bunker it, and use this as a full loot room. That would be less efficient, but... okay. Okay, we're gonna be this way today. Okay, I got that there. Box. I'm assuming we're tier 1, which is why I'm not going to use any sort of windows or consider garage doors. Because once you get garage doors, this doesn't really matter as much, I don't think. So you could go like 1 box. Slide this back. We could do something like that. Got those. Let me get a small box in here. I don't need those. Now, I don't know. I usually get mad if I can't reach, and so I probably wouldn't lay it out like that. I would probably do something like this, because I get so unreasonably mad if I can't reach the TC. Shove that all the way back. Okay, so I can't get one wide if I do it like that. I'm gonna put that there to help me up. Oh, nice, nice. I can get that slid all the way back. Okay, cool, cool. So I can get 4 boxes. This is kind of like the traditional room where you have the TC in the corner, and then you do like this, and then this. I'll set it up later if I need to compare, but... So I've got that. I don't know if a box will fit in the middle. I don't think it will, even if I optimize it. Yeah, that's as far back as I'll get. And so it'd be... Oh, you're making me mad. Okay. I love the shift function that you can do, but it's so goofy sometimes. So I guess I could use this as... Like, I could leave this up here, and then... Yeah, but then I only get 6. I don't think this is the best way. Although, I guess... Like, I could do it where I do 1, 2, 3. No, but, like, I can already tell that this is worse, because now... Like, I can't fit in here. Yeah, this is worse, so... So how did I have it? I had it like, I had it like this. I had it over here. And then I was able to, I shoved this all the way over there. And then I was able to get that there. Get that there. And I just want these to be easy to access. That's something I try to do in every base I design. I want every box, I want every deployable, I want all the movement, I want everything to not be annoying. Because anything that is annoying is just friction for you to use a thing. So if you have a box that's annoying to get to, you just don't use the box. And you could have just laid the base out differently and then used the box. I kind of keep that in mind with everything. Like I know solo bases are all about efficiency, and like when you have hyper efficient stuff, you have to go with weird layouts. But there's a line where it just becomes not beneficial to do anymore. And so I think I would do like that, and then I would go with a bag. Let's see. Yeah, I can get the bag right in here. And I don't know if I would want to put a small box here, because I don't think I can reach the TC if I do that. Yeah, I can't reach the TC if I do that. But maybe if I can jam the back... No. Okay, so I'm going with that there. Yeah, I think this is how I would go there. And now I need my furnaces and my workbench. So workbench, furnace. Let's see, if I get this right here, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the way I have it laid out, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes. I have 3 small boxes right now. I could put boxes that you run over. Like if I really wanted to maximize space in here, I could use this, and then I could put like more here. I tend to find that really, really frustrating. I guess one trick you can use, and I like to do this in my gatehouses, is if you, and when I have peaks, I like to, let me see, okay. Now I can just sprint forwards, and I will run over each thing. Maybe it's not working because the door is right there. But I could, yeah, I can crouch and just kind of walk forwards, and it will pick me up. Whereas if I just have this, I have to jump. And then even bigger, I have to jump. And so that's a trick you can use to make mobility better throughout your bases. If you ever have boxes where you have to go over to move around your base, use small boxes and sleeping bags to help you get over them. But yeah, so I get 6 and 3. And so then if I come over, I'm going to actually remake my 2x2 farther away so I can put a TC into this. I'm going to skip right to stone. I can already tell there's going to be so many more boxes in here, but, you know, the point of the show is to go in deep about these things and really get a grasp on, like, why we do things the way we do them. So that we know when we actually have to do a thing or when we're just doing something because we've always done it. I like to know the difference between those two things. Alright, so main loot room. Oh, come on, why are you... There we go. I wonder if I'll be able to get the placement with the shift or if I'll have to do the old-fashioned jump. I'll just jump. Okay, so main loot room, not so different. 4 boxes and 2 versus kind of like 3.5 boxes and 1. So, not so different yet. But then this is where it's going to get very different. So now you have a couple of options. I've never liked laying out 2x2s like this because you don't get an efficient loot room. But let's see if I don't remember the best way to lay out a 2x2 like this. Let's just throw boxes in because we can. 2. Okay, so I can't fit an extra that way, and I want to maintain a running path because I think that's important. And so I will go like, if I put the workbench right there, And I can do a small box. Okay, and then I can go furnace, 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 and then I could do another furnace, or I could do a box right here. I'll go with a box. That blocks my mobility, so I'll go with the furnace. Okay, so in this setup, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I get 8 large boxes. I get an extra furnace, and the same number of small boxes. But this is not the most efficient way of laying out a 2x2. This is just a way that you can keep the running path open. What I think is interesting is we almost have the same amount of stuff in here. I mean, it's not quite. We're short a furnace. And we have less room to play with. Like, over here, if you have the salvaged shelves, you could do way more efficient stuff. I go with the shelves. I won't use any DLC stuff because I never know if people have it or don't, and so we can go like that. And we could go 4 boxes. Yeah, and so we could get more boxes. We could go workbench right there. I think if you place this just right, you can still run through that gap. Yeah, you can still run through that. It gets a little awkward sometimes, but yeah, so if you use the salvage shelves, you can get a lot more into your 2x2. So yeah, this kind of feels about the tightness now, and you're getting 4 extra boxes because that's 12 large boxes, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 6. So it's double the large boxes. And so this is definitely less efficient in terms of the amount of storage you're getting, but you're getting a lot more door path. And so I guess that's up to you. Like, if you're going to leave it stone and you're only going to be a 4 rocket raid, then I think you absolutely go with the regular 2x2. There's a reason we go for it. But if you want to throw off raiders a little bit and you're expecting to go to sheet metal, because this is still only 8 walls that you have to upgrade, it's no more expensive than if you did it with a 2x2, and you wouldn't even have to upgrade. Let's see, these 2 you wouldn't want to upgrade. You wouldn't want to bother going to sheet until you get 1, 2, 3, 4 doors in. And so you could do something like this, because and now that's all you have to upgrade, and you would want to upgrade this because right now it'd be optimal to just go 1, 2 doors and then through that. You could do something like that. But I think something we're not accounting for at all is this back corner. If they're going with satchels instead of rockets or something that doesn't splash, they're not going to get access to this spot right here. But yeah, I feel like this is kind of interesting. I haven't seen... I wonder... I don't think I've ever seen like a 3x3 made out of triangles. And so you'd have it like that, and I wonder, like, you know how 3x3s will have like the loot rooms in the corners, and then people do the jump ups right here. Like, 3x3s used to be so popular before, you know, back in like 2018. Like, every base was just another 3x3. But you could do these like triangle loot rooms, but then all of a sudden you can get 1, 2, you can make the door path so much longer through the center of your base this way. And this costs the same as a normal 3x3, but you can get double the doors, because normally it's 1, 2, 3, 4 doors to go through the center, but now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 7, so just shy of double. So I think this is interesting. I think, like, it's weird. Like, I wouldn't want to build a 3x3 in the first place, and I feel like instead of slanting a 3x3, you should just go with a normal triangle footprint, like one of these guys, or like where you have the kind of flattened tips or whatever you call them. Like this is just better than a 3x3. I mean, it's a little bit smaller. Let's see. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18 triangles. And so this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait. 5, 5, 10, 13. So we can add 5 more triangles, and it's equivalent. Yeah, so like these these have the same amount of triangles. And I feel like I don't know, maybe the slanted 3x3 is... Yeah, the 3x3 is usually an efficiency thing. But I've never seen someone... Oh, I just made the exact same footprint. That's funny. I just spun it a little bit. Nobody builds 3x3s anymore. At least, I haven't seen a 3x3 on vanilla. I mean, maybe people still build them in, like faster paced servers, like 10x's or 5x's. But I never see 3x3s, so I wonder if I could make a base using this diamond footprint, but lay it out like a 3x3, because the thing about 3x3s that was so nice is just the mobility in the base was fantastic. Like, you just had loot room, and it was so nice. You just walk around and everything's very well organized, and you had options. Everything was so modular. Like, with your 3x3, you have your entrance, but then you had all of these options as either jump ups or loot rooms or... Yeah, no, I don't play Vital. I purely play vanilla. If there was ever a server that was truly just like a 1.5 or a 2x on resources, I would consider it, but they always change the loot tables. Like, they change barrels and they change, like, boxes. Like, I want to open my boxes and get tank tops and, like, bandanas and, you know, like, wooden barricades. Just stuff I don't want at all. Because then when I actually find a component, I'm excited. When I just open a barrel and I get 2 semi-bodies, it's like, okay, I don't really care anymore. Because then if I die, like, I don't know, I can just get 5 more SMG bodies opening a single military crate. Yeah, that's the other thing. It would be so much fun to play as a builder for one of those 10 or 20 man groups. Like, I built for a 6-man group for the first time in 3 years, and that was the most fun I've had playing Rust. And outside of sailing the deep seas is so much fun. But sorry, I'll keep on track until I wrap up this segment, and then I'll yap after I finish up the episode on the geometry of Rust. But I guess to kind of recap, since we're nearing that point where I think we should wrap up. Rust is all about triangles and squares, and we looked at it. The area of triangles when you equate for... No, you're good. You're good. I could let myself get distracted, but I want to try and keep it concise to the topic and then have people come join the stream if they want to yap around. And that's on me. I just have to get better at staying on track. But I'll just switch to the yap cam so I can wrap up the episode, and it will, yep. But yeah, so there's triangles and squares. We talked a lot about triangles and squares. Triangles have less area after you equate for cost, but you can fit a lot more doors into a footprint if you use triangles instead of squares. And we looked at that. That's because it's like if you have a square and you tilt it to the side, that's two triangles, and so you get this extra diagonal down the middle, and so that's why we get extra doors with triangle-shaped footprints. We talked about packing factor and basically how deployables, because they're rectangular, don't fit into triangle footprints as well. If we had triangular deployables, it would work out better, but we don't. And so squares are better as loot rooms and bedrooms. And so if you're building a base and you have a square, put your loot there. It's a great spot to put loot. And if you have triangles, make that your door path. You want as much of your door path in triangles as possible because you can just fit more doors, waste less space, because in my opinion, you should not be putting deployables in your door path because you need to be able to run. Even if it's a small base, like a duo or a trio or even a solo, you want to be able to run unobstructed through your base through a path. You don't want to be doing crouch jumps and everything to get over boxes and under double door frames. Like, mobility is so important, and I'm going to go into that in future episodes. But when you're designing, keep your door paths free, and if you're using triangles, you're not wasting good space for that. If you're using squares, you definitely want to try and fill in the sides, kind of in that gap around where like a single door would go. But yeah, and then triangles are better for honeycombing, but people get that intuitively, and I feel like I don't need to drive that home. So takeaway message: triangles for your door path and squares for loot rooms and bedrooms. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you have a fantastic day. And if you're watching on Twitch, we're just going to keep on going. So, yeah.